My name is Jen.
And this is Dixie.
And this is my live annotated bibliography. Well, not live, but I decided that this would be a great opportunity to work with video and pictures and voiceover because I haven't really done that in an educational format before, and give me a different sort of opportunity to create a different sort of media display when I'm talking about my annotated bibliography. So sit back and enjoy my presentation. Thank you.
Welcome to my lab, my live annotated bibliography on September 29th, 2016. So for this annotated bibliography, we were asked to look at a physical development issue in regards to how technology can affect it. So for mine, I really wanted to look at university and college-age students, as this is the age I'm most interested in about studying about, as well as working with. So for this, I also wanted to maybe look at the impact that sleep has on their mental health. So university and college students notoriously get not enough sleep, and that affects all sorts of things, from their grades to their emotional and to their mental health. And so I wanted to look at the relationship between cell phones and sleeping. So for this study, this was the area in which I focused on. So I looked at cell phones and the effect that cell phones in the bedroom nearby have on students and their sleeping patterns. And this is what I discovered. The article I looked at was called Sleeping with Technology, Cognitive, Affective, and Technology Usage Predictors of Sleep Problems Among College Students. And this was published in the Journal of the National Sleep Foundation in 2016. So the research was actually conducted in 2014 and 2015, but the article itself wasn't published till January of 2016. And so this is a really relevant article. So Rosen, Carrier, Miller, and Rockham and Ruiz were the authors of the study. And I selected this one right away because the title and then the abstract really did describe what I was looking for and how cell phones could affect sleep. So this article's question and method is that it sets out to examine cell phones' impact on sleeping, on how college students are sleeping. So this was a quantitative study using an online survey, specifically SurveyMonkey. So the researchers asked questions in the following categories to try to get an understanding of the connection between cell phone use and technology use and sleeping habits. So they asked questions in the daily usage, anxiety and dependence on cell phone, executive functioning problems, multitasking preferences, nighttime phone location, and nighttime awakenings due to cell phone. So the researchers were really interested in this study because they had read a lot of research talking about how students get less than 7 hours of sleep a night, when the recommended dosage for many students that age is actually 7+ hours a night. So they wanted to know what sort of connection did the cell phone have to this lower sleeping at night number of hours. So the results from their study was fairly predictable, except for one. But the results that they did get were what was predicted was that a large number of the students were keeping their phone very close to them at night. Fewer sleep problems were found from those who didn't check their phone throughout the night. So the students who didn't awake for a text message or a phone call actually had less sleeping problems. And the majority of students were actually getting less than 7 hours per night, which the researchers sort of knew from previous research, but this confirmed their expectations. But one unpredictable result, which I was referring to earlier, was that those who moved their phone into another room or away from their bed actually complained of higher sleep problems. And so why is this? Well, the researchers concluded that the phone being away from the student could actually cause more anxiety and stress due to the fear of missing out on something, resulting in a poor sleep and maybe less hours of sleep. So this researchers thought that these results could lead to a discussion about maybe nomophobia, which is the fear of being without your phone, or about the fear of missing out on communications and sort of that addiction to the cell phone that some students have. So as a quantitative study, this research didn't really tell us anything about specific individuals, or could have been a lot of variables that affected how these students were sleeping. We didn't know about their family life. We didn't know about all these other additional things that could affect the results. And so the researchers and the authors do bring this up. The other issue with this paper is that the mean age of the participants is 25. And so the researchers do note that this is a little bit older than the majority of college and university students. And so 25 might affect the sleeping quality, as many of these students identified as having part-time or full-time work in addition to going to school full-time. The other issue with this, which the researchers bring up, is that majority of the students identified as some sort of minority. And so while the researchers thought this was an interesting fact, it also did not necessarily speak for an entire population. So for this paper, the moderator was the students and the cell phone. The mediator was the removing of the cell phone from the bedroom, and that specific answer could be a mediator, because then that causes the anxiety and the stress. And finally, the conclusion. I do think that this article will be useful in my final research study here in this class, because I think that this is a great starting point to understand students' relationship to cell phones and how that can cause anxiety and stress, and sleep being one of them. So the second article I chose was called Sleeping with a Smartphone, Not So Wise, The Link Between Health and Well-Being and Cell Phone Use. And this was found in Maclean's Online and was written on November 1st, 2013. So the reason I chose this article was that it seemed to cover what I was really interested in, cell phones and their effect on sleeping, as well as what effects that would have on someone's mental health as well. And while this article doesn't directly sell itself as an article that talks about university and college students, this is the main audience the author chose to speak about, as it's probably the most relevant audience for sleeping with your cell phone in your bed. So the question at hand for this article is that he examines the connection between sleeping in close proximity to a cell phone and the effects that this would have on your person's health. And as I said, he specifically focuses on university and college-age students. He argues that cell phones in bed or close by can have negative effects, and employs the use of several research studies, as well as interviewing 2 students in attempts to demonstrate that students may experience burnout, poor grades, as well as worsened memory, attention, and daytime fatigue due to having their cell phone close by. In order to do this, he references several studies, as well as speaks with 2 students who claim that they sleep with their cell phone in their bed. One is a female student and one a male student. And while the male student addresses that it's probably not good for him, he says that he's gotten used to this and this is kind of the way he lives now. The female student doesn't really see anything wrong with it and says that she actually likes it that her boyfriend will text her at 7 a.m. She'll tell him that she's going back to sleep, and then she does do this. And so while her sleeping is interrupted, she doesn't really mind it. So while the article references some useful studies and demonstrates a clear connection between health issues and cell phones, it doesn't come to a strong enough conclusion, as the author uses a study that has not yet been completed as a reference. In this article, the moderator was the university students, using the predictor being the cell phone at bedtime. The mediator, on the other hand, was how the cell phone was being used. In the article, the author referenced sleep being disrupted mainly for communication such as texting or phone calls. So the mediator in this situation, which caused the results, was how the cell phones being used. The students said that they would get woken up by a call or a text message. So while the article has many flaws, as example, using a research study that has yet been completed, So no real facts there. I'm confident that this is actually a good starting point for understanding the impact and dependency that cell phones and technology have on university students. So if I am interested in studying the impact that cell phones and communication have on anxiety in university students, then this might be a really good starting point to kind of understand that relationship, even though the facts about it are maybe a little bit skewed. It also demonstrates that students feel compelled to continuously be in communication with one another, gaining a better understanding of the age demographic I'm most interested in. So the students in the article are quoted at saying they like the ability to always be in communication and not to miss out on anything. And so while the article's research backing is not so great, I do think that this combination of talking to the students gives me a really great foundation or basis for understanding this sort of audience. However, moving forward, I would want to look more at articles that have a little bit more substance and a little bit more research focus to gain an even better understanding.